The holidays are fast approaching here in Israel, and because of this, Israel is tightening their security across all sectors. Terrorists in Northern Samaria launched a rocket aimed at Jewish towns in the Gilboa mountains. The IDF was ordered to destroy the home of one of the terrorists who killed the 4 Israelis at a gas station in Eli. Israeli demonstrators outside the justice minister's home clashed with Israeli police when they refused to obey the order of the officers. Stick around for the end because I have an epic video of undercover police officers pretending to be Orthodox Jews so that they can catch stone throwers in the act. I'm Josiah, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Welcome back to the show again this week. First off, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. We hate saying that every single video, but it helps gets us out there to more people and helps us compete with the other content on YouTube, getting the truth about Israel out there to you guys. Thanks for tuning in today to what's happening in the land of Israel. You can follow us on any of our social media platforms. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We also have a breaking news WhatsApp group. All the links for that are in the description below this video. All right, guys, what is happening in the land of Israel today? We're going to break down. We got quite a few stories to cover today. So let's dive in right here. First off, many of you probably know this, but that Israel is approaching their holiday season. The Jewish New Year is coming up just next week, and then it moves into the big festival of Sukkot is after that, and Yom Kippur is right in the middle there. So here in Israel, it's going to be like a 3 to 4 week period where it's very festive, fun time in the land of Israel. The entire nation is celebrating in some way. Whether you're religious or you're secular, everybody's going to be celebrating in some sort of way some of these holidays. So it's a very festive air here in Israel. But on that note, Israel is actually tightening their security on all fronts here in Israel, in Judea and Samaria, the so-called West Bank. They're tightening security, bringing in more soldiers to this area. Also in Jerusalem, East Jerusalem, all over Jerusalem, they're tightening security. And as well on the borders of Israel up north, keeping a great eye out, a very keen eye out up there for any threats coming across the borders. And according to Kan 11 News, they reported that the IDF has actually contacted Hamas in Gaza through some mediators. The other countries contacted Hamas and actually warned them against launching rockets into Israel during the upcoming holidays. We've seen it happen in the past around certain holidays. Kind of is when sometimes terrorists feel more emboldened because there's more people out, or maybe don't exactly know the reason why, but they may feel more emboldened to go out and carry out attacks. And it's happened in the past with Gaza, shooting rockets during times of festive seasons when there's more people in the land of Israel and also just out in the cities as well. So the IDF sent a very clear message to Hamas, warning them not to fire any rockets into civilian population areas, into Israel, inside the borders of Israel at all. And they also sent the message that if they do fire rockets from Gaza into Israel, that the IDF will respond very harshly with an actual military operation. So that is good news coming from Israel, that the IDF is showing a very strong hand and preemptively threatening Hamas, saying we are on the defense here, but if you threaten our civilians, if you start shooting rockets at our civilians, we will strike back very harshly and deal with these terrorists that are going to be that would potentially threaten our citizens here in the land of Israel. Also, the situation, the Minister of Defense, Yoav Gallant, held a situational assessment on Thursday for the security preparedness in Judea and Samaria for the upcoming holidays. He declared that the IDF will be ready on all fronts and alerted to identify terrorist threats and terrorist attacks that could be potentially coming up. The IDF is constantly receiving alerts and pieces of it being tipped off, pieces of information about terror attacks, potential terror attacks that could be occurring. And we know that the IDF is actually stopping and taking care of way more terrorist attacks than actually are the guys that are able to carry out their attacks. The IDF is preventing so many more terror attacks here in Judea and Samaria. We're thankful for that, thankful for God watching out for his people and being with the IDF, the defense IDF, Israel's defense forces. Isn't that incredible? This is not a offensive army. This is not a an army going out to conquer new land. This is the defense forces of Israel, just like the army of King David, defending the borders of Israel and establishing the nation of Israel here in the land of Israel. Very thankful for the IDF here in Israel. Kind of along the same lines, a new threat that has popped up recently in Judea and Samaria, I guess you could say specifically up in Northern Samaria, but just several days ago, terrorists launched a rocket from Jenin, Northern Samaria, from Jenin, launched a rocket toward the Gilboa Mountains, which is just north of Samaria, up there by Afula, towards headed, in the direction of the Galilee. They launched a rocket, and as you can see in this video, it's kind of a blurry video. It's not it's too clear to see, but you can see they're showing the rocket there on the ground with a sign in Arabic, and then they launched the rocket, and thankfully it only made it about 30 to 50 feet off the ground and came back down. I don't know if it exploded or not, couldn't really tell in the video, but thank God this rocket did not have a successful launch. But it is important to note that this actually has happened several times, many times in the last 6 months, 8 months. Terrorists have tried to launch rockets from Jenin into the cities surrounding that area, mostly outside of the Green Line, because there's not many Jewish communities up in Northern Samaria. There's one or two up by the northern border there. But it is interesting because this is a sort of a newer threat that Israel is facing within Israel, because you have the Gaza in the south that is, Israel's very used to, unfortunately, them shooting rockets into Israeli population centers. And you have also Syria that have fired rockets into Israel. You have Lebanon, Hezbollah up there, which have fired rockets in Israel. So you have those different threats on the borders of Israel. But up until now, there hasn't really been that internal threat of rocket fire from Judea and Samaria, and specifically here in Jenin. This is now what is starting to take place. These terrorists are getting bolder. Thankfully, I think this is like a fringe terror group, so they may have not had the resources that they needed to actually make a successful launch into a Israeli population center. But it is a threat that could pop up in the future of terrorist organizations if Hamas was to get a very strong hold, and we know they are getting stronger in towns in Judea and Samaria. They could potentially start shooting rockets into Israeli cities. So that is something to be thinking about, something to be praying about, safety for the nation of Israel with these rockets. And overall, just brings a headache to the security forces here in Israel. Another threat of rockets they have to be aware of and they have to deal with here in Judea and Samaria, in addition to, unfortunately, the recent rise in terrorism. We have some good news pertaining to the Israeli military and dealing with terrorism, kind of on the same note. On Thursday of this last week, the IDF Central Command issued an order to seize and destroy the home of one of the terrorists who committed the deadly shooting attack in Eli, the town of Eli, Jewish town of Eli, here in Samaria. This man, him and his accomplices, the terrorists that were assisting him, killed 4 Israelis: Harel Masoud, Elisha Antman, Ofer Fairman, Nachman Shmuel Mordaf. 4 Israelis, men at the gas station in Eli. This is a gas station that I myself used frequently when traveling down Highway 60 to stop and fuel up the vehicle. And they just came right in and shot and killed, murdered these 4 Israelis. So very good that the IDF is issuing an order to demolish that terrorist home. This terrorist was from Nablus, the town of Palestinian town of Nablus, biblical city of Shechem. The terrorist family actually submitted an appeal to stop the demolition of this house, but thankfully that was rejected, did not get accepted, that the appeal didn't go through. And in my opinion, that these demolitions are very good. Like, Israel demolishing terrorist houses is a fantastic response to terrorism. it seems like this should be actually carried out immediately, because we're already now, this attack was happened in the middle of June. We're already almost 3 months past this terror attack. So most everybody's kind of like, the shock of what happened is not so fresh anymore. And now they're going in to demolish this house. Whereas if it was done immediately, there were to be an immediate, it would be immediately felt by that community of that terrorist there, make a much greater impact, on the terrorist family, who, now they're hailing their person who was committed this terror attack as a hero. He was a martyr, he was a hero, he went and killed Jews and, was killed in the process. And, but if this was carried out immediately, it would have a much bigger impact on those, that community and that family, maybe even preventing attacks in the future if they know that there's going to be more people than just themselves affected. Unfortunately, this, I think, has a lot to do with pressure from international communities, maybe pressure from Israel's Supreme Court, which is rather left and tends to be somewhat favorable to the Palestinians, to the cause, if you could say, of the Palestinians, that this was delayed so long, and they're just now giving the order. They haven't even destroyed the house yet. Who knows how many more weeks or months it will be until that house is actually destroyed. But I really think, though, that this is destroying a terrorist house is really should be the basic response to terrorism here in Israel. I think Israel should look into having a much harsher response to terrorism. And I know there's been many politicians in Israel, and there's many conservative thinkers that are pushing for harsher responses to the terrorist, maybe like deporting the terrorist family to one of these other countries that have a lot of Palestinians, or these Arab countries surrounding Syria, Lebanon, Jordan. Maybe that would be a big deterrent for the terrorist. If he knew that if he goes and kills Jews, his family is going to be kicked out of this area and deported even to Syria. Syria, it's not good living for people over there. So maybe that would be a big deterrent for somebody before they commit an attack, if they know that their entire family is going to be put in this horrible situation. Obviously, you don't want to put innocent people in terrible situations, but unfortunately, as is the case in 99% of terror attacks, the families are 100% behind their family member who goes and kills Jews, and that ideology and that mentality is just a horrific reality. We'll be back to the show in just 1 second, but first, have you always wanted to understand the deeper meaning of the Hebrew Bible in the original Hebrew? Have you ever wondered why the Bible is obsessed with the land of Israel? The Israel Bible is not just another version of the Hebrew Bible. It's a window into the divine connection between God, his chosen people, and the Holy Land. Whether you're of Jewish heritage or a Christian like me who is passionate about the roots of your faith, this is a revelation you won't want to miss. Imagine holding in your hands a resource that combines the original Hebrew text with a clear, accurate English translation. The Israel Bible brings these ancient words to life like never before. And guess what? It's not just for scholars and theologians. With profound commentary by Rabbi Tuli Weiss and other top Bible teachers, it's designed for people like me and you. People who love to explore the significance of the scripture. And here's something special. Many verses are transliterated into English, allowing you to grasp the beauty of God's word in its original Hebrew form. It's like opening a door into a new dimension of understanding. The Israel Bible is packed with maps, charts, illustrations that bring the stories to life. Think about the miracle of the state of Israel's founding in 1948. It's a fulfillment of so many biblical prophecies. Reading the Bible, you'll tap into that awe and excitement and see the wonders of God in your own time. Get your own copy of the Israel Bible by clicking the link down in the description below. All right, guys, another thing happening in Israel in more the political sphere of things. There were several demonstrations actually this morning, recording this Monday morning. There were several demonstrations across Jerusalem and different places at the homes of Israeli government ministers. And there was one specific protest outside the home of the justice minister, Israel's justice minister, Yariv Levin. And demonstrations being held. These guys, what are they protesting? They protesting, bad wages, maybe going on strike. No, I'm sure you've already guessed it already. Yes, they're still protesting judicial reform. And I don't know if you're tired of hearing that term been talked about. It's been a big subject here in Israel for the last several months. But these guys are still protesting the same thing they were protesting 6 months ago back in Tel Aviv. And I think there's still protests going on there every week in Tel Aviv today. But they're protesting what? The end of democracy. They're protesting the rise of dictatorship here in Israel. Well, sorry to bust their bubble, but the stuff they've been protesting for like 6 months democracy still hasn't ended here in Israel. Dictatorship has not been set up. The government is working very smoothly. The democracy is strong here in Israel. They've even passed some legislation from judicial reform, and lo and behold, democracy did not end. Being a little bit sarcastic here, but yeah, they've really have a bit of a, I don't know if it's a twisted picture of what's actually happening, or if it's just they hate Netanyahu and the right-wing government so much that they choose not to even look at the common sense stuff that they're actually trying to push through in the government. I think it's more of an anti-government protest, but we'll kind of see how that goes in the future. But the protesters this morning were protesting outside of Yariv Levin, the justice minister's home, and they ended up blocking the nearby highway. They ended up blocking the entrance to the minister's house. So the police, because these protesters were disrupting the public order, according to the police, the police came in and demanded that the protesters move to an organized area where they could protest freely, just be out of the way and stop disrupting the public order, stop disrupting the highway, blocking traffic, and all this stuff. So some of these protesters refused and actually seemed like was quite intentional, clashed with the police, started going back and forth with the police there. The police were eventually, thankfully, able to move these guys out of the way of the everyday things that were going on the highway and the entrance to the house, and to an organized area. The police didn't shut them down and confiscate their signs and send them home. No, the police just moved them out of the way, keeping public order so that they could still demonstrate, they could still practice their right to free speech, and let the protest continue. I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem like the police. This doesn't seem like the police of a dictatorship government that's trying to stop democracy in the land of Israel. No, there's free speech. You can say, you can have an opinion against what the government is doing, and you can speak that out freely in protest. You just cannot disrupt public order, and you cannot be violent, protest violently, and put people's lives and bodies in danger. All right, guys. This is really cool. This is the thing we'll close out with today, the show here. Last thing here in my notes is an epic video I actually found of undercover Israeli police officers arresting rioters, stone throwers in eastern Jerusalem because of the increase in rock throwings and stone throwings against Jewish vehicles in eastern Jerusalem. The police of the area actually came up with a very ingenious, clever way of going in and taking care of these guys. They took a police van, converted it to make it look like a civilian van where there's, just regular Jews, sitting in the van and driving through the city. And then they dressed up a bunch of their officers, a bunch of their detectives as Orthodox Jews with the kippahs and maybe wearing white shirts. You can see in the video here, the police in the briefing before they go out, they're all decked out, just look like regular Orthodox Jews. They get in the van and they drive purposely into this neighborhood where they know that there's likely to be stone throwers waiting there to hit the vehicles and cause property damage. And not only that, but also could be bodily damage when these rocks come through the window and hit the passengers in the vehicle. So as you can see in the video, the van's going through the street there. Several Arab boys run out and start chucking rocks at the van. Immediately regretted their decision. You could call this instant karma. As the police officers dressed up just like, normal Orthodox Jews, jump out and take off after these boys. I thought that was an incredible video. They go and arrest two of the rock throwers, 14 and 16 years old. These are young guys that are throwing rocks and trying to harm Israelis. Going through there, they arrested them and took them into the police station for questioning. The commander of the operation, the police chief there, He said, quote, "We carried out another creative and proactive activity due to cases in which stones were thrown at passing vehicles, cases that damaged property. In accordance with the police of the district commander, we instantly continued to target the hazards and violent rioters who try to harm road users. The serious crimes of the suspects can easily lead to injury to human life, which is why we're working to locate and arrest them. We will continue to act in creative ways with determination in order to capture anyone who throws stones at vehicles." Yeah, and that is important to point out that this is not just some, rowdy teenage kids who are kind of doing something stupid and just going out and chucking rocks at cars. This is very intentional, and throwing stones at vehicles in Israel can cause serious injury to the occupants of the vehicle. If that stone breaks the windshield, breaks the window, comes through, and the vehicle is going at any sort of speed, you add the velocity of the rock and the velocity of the vehicle moving and hitting them. There's actually been death caused by stone throwings in the past, whether it's the car veering off and having a deadly accident or that stone coming through and actually killing the person on impact through the window. So it is a serious crime that this 14 and 16-year-old in this case committed going through there, and we're thankful that the Israeli police were able to go through and take care of that. Love the way they did that. Get it done, boys. That's what I say. Go in there and take care of this crime and this terror as best you can in any way you can do it. Thankful that the police are being active in this situation. Guys, that's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, get the conversation going down below. We love interacting with you guys in the comments. Thank you for leaving so many comments on my show last week. Really love looking at those there and responding to some of you guys down in the comments. As always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. Remember, we'll be back every day, Monday through Friday, with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.